Hey, hello, welcome back. Welcome. I'm gonna wait for some people to hopefully join in the next few minutes. In that time, I'm gonna collect some paint here. We're gonna continue working on our landscapes. Here's my white. I'm gonna need some Van Dyke brown. We got one person. Hello. Welcome. All right. Well, hello, one singular person. Welcome. We're going to continue painting. My lighting today is a little weird. Hold on, let me see if I can. I think that's going to be a little better. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Got some nice light on my painting now, even though I'm casting a little bit of shadow here. Let's see if I can back it up just a little bit. Very good. Still only have one person. So yeah, again, we are back here. If you've been watching my recent episodes, we've been working on my Cape Cod landscape. Now I can show you the photo. It's on my iPad here on my little shelf, right, of the Dunes National Park up in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. So we're going to continue working on this today, focusing still on developing this foreground. Last episode, we really worked into this, laid in all this taller grass and brush work, and used a fan brush to lay in this really nice bright greenish moss type color. And so we're going to work back in, adding in some more of this sand color to really make it feel less of like a field and more of like a dune, and that this underbrush is really coming up in. And then maybe focus on this middle ground right here. I'm pretty happy with how this looks. This last little strip of the dunes looks for the most part. So yeah, that's what we're going to work on today. But first, I want to show you, I have some developments in my studio. So we've been looking at this angle in my studio for a while. In the first episode here, I gave you a tour. But if we walk over here, I now have my computer set up and desk with my printer, some more paintings. Wait, you can see there's my computer. I've got my other light in the corner. I'm going to get a drawing desk for right there, right in this spot right over here. And yeah, cleaned out my closet, all nice and organized. So I've got my music set up over here, which I'm very excited because hopefully maybe we'll do some home studio music production live streams or tutorials. Talk to you a little bit about that. How to use a MIDI controller, use a keyboard, use a mixer, use an audio interface, all that fun stuff. So maybe we'll do that in the future. But for today, we're going to continue working on my Cape Cod landscape. All right, so what I want to do today is focus on, like I said, adding in that sand, make this feel a little bit less of a field. And then also there's some tall, wispy, long grass blowing in the breeze of my landscape. You can see it over here a bit, especially towards that right side. So let's see here. Let's grab some paint. We have some titanium buff, which is going to be my main color for this foreground. But I want to mix it in with some white. So I'm going to put some white on my palette here. Let's go ahead and angle you down with my palette. Thank you for the one person who's tuning in today, currently. You know, I've been having some issues with RenWeb, our student software program, sending out emails and keeping in touch. We've had some issues, but hopefully that is solved now finally. So we can actually keep in touch much better. All right, so I'm going to take some titanium buff, that nice sandy color, mix some white into it. And then I'm probably going to mix in some ochre as well, some yellow ochre. But I'm going to need to get some out of my tube of paint. So let me find that paint here. There it is. Let's see if I can squeeze some out. Oh, this paint's old. All right. Squeeze just a little bit of yellow ochre here. It's a really strong color, so I don't want to overpower too much, which I might have. Yeah, I did. So we're going to go ahead and add in some titanium buff into that again, and also some more white. We're looking for, this is the color right here on my palette. You can see that I used for the top of my dunes in the distance, right? So I want it to be a little bit warmer, but it's actually a little bit lighter now that I'm looking at it in the photo, right? So I want to make sure this looks pretty good. I think it just needs a little bit more white. And so up until this point, we've been using a decent amount of mediums, including turpentine or mineral spirits, paint thinner, right, to thin out my oil paint. And linseed oil to, again, slows down the drying time, makes it really nice and fluid. And then also using, last time I introduced Liquin, I had just gotten in the mail, Winsor & Newton Liquin, which actually speeds up the drying time and thins it out, makes it's kind of like a goopy substance, but what it does is it maintains that pigment quality. So in paint thinner, it'll spread out your pigment, but Liquin maintains that pigment quality, and that's what we use for this green moss here, and that's why it kind of bubbled up and looks a little goopy on the surface. But what we're going to do today for my sand in the front, what I want to do is mix in some other materials, but I gotta find it first. But I actually think it's, oh yeah, it's right down here. So we are going to mix in some powdered marble dust, right? So traditionally when you're making gesso, you can use this in there. I also really like to use plaster, but marble dust is the good stuff. But you have to be really careful using this. I should probably be wearing a mask. But it's okay. I'm gonna just trickle some out, just a little bit. And what this is gonna do, and I'll show you on my palette in just a second, it's gonna thicken up my paint just a little bit. Here, I'll show you. Let me angle it back down again for you. So I'm going right here. You can see it kind of looks like flour you would cook with, or plaster powder, right? Just this ground up marble powder. So what we're gonna do is use that. And what that is going to do is it's going to absorb some of the paint. The paint's going to absorb with it and mix with it. And it's going to give us a nice thick, it almost looks like you're mixing dough in the kitchen. Oh, I just got an email from somebody. I'm not sure who that was. All right, so I actually am going to go ahead and grab, it's a little too thick. I'm going to pour a little bit of linseed oil on here. Get a little bit of alchemy going on here. Really feels like I'm in the kitchen making dough right now. So we're gonna mix some linseed oil into this, and you can see though how that marble dust is really making my paint feel nice and thick, nice and kind of chalky. Really make it feel like some sand. Really get that nice textural quality. That's what we're going for. That way when I lay it down in my foreground, it's going to lay down in these nice bigger clumps. You know what we're actually going to add to this as well? I hope it's on here too. It's not. Give me one second here. I'm just going to take you with me for my adventure. So we're going to sneak down here into my milk crate of random things. And we are looking. So here's plaster, right? Plaster of Paris. Use that when you mix it, making houses and stuff. Oh, there it is. I see it. I see what I want. It's hidden down in there. Can you see it? Here we go. Dorland's Wax Medium. We got a wax medium. That's what we want. Wax medium. Right? Otherwise known as cold wax. Ooh, fresh. I haven't used this in a while. Look at that. Fresh. All right. So what I'm going to do is take another clean palette knife. Doesn't look very clean, but all the paint's dry. And I'm going to scoop some out. I don't want too much. But again, we're going to add that to my paint. and it's going to thicken it up. It's going to be really nice. I'm going to leave that right there on the palette. All right, so again, we're mixing right here. Right here. Here's my coal wax, and we're going to start to mix that in. I don't want too much. You don't want too much wax because then it'll actually break apart your paint, make your paint crack over time because there isn't enough binder to wax ratio to hold it together. But oh man, that looks good to me. Looks good to me. I wish I actually had some real sand to mix into the paint. I've done that before. It's very fun. It actually works and helps give you that texture. It's nice if you go plein air painting on the beach. If you're painting like an ocean beach scene, you can actually use some of the sand you're standing on in your painting to give it that texture. It's really nice. All right, that is nice and chunky. I might need just a little bit more marble dust. It's really, nothing about painting is really in exact amounts. You know, it's not like there's any sorts of measuring. So you really got to feel it out. You know, one way or the other, you'll get there. Don't be afraid to really start adding material to each other to try and get from point A to point B to find that exact texture or consistency you're looking for. All right, this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna want a stiff bristle brush when I'm adding this. The reason I say that is because it's gonna make me put more paint on my brush and give me more of that textural quality when I'm going over top of this underbrush here. So let me find that real quick. I just reorganized my brushes here. Today, my big coffee can brushes. Let's see here. That one's not bad. So right now I'm feeling the bristles of my brushes, trying to figure out exactly which one I want to use. This one feels good. It's flat brush here. Stiff bristle brush. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start at the bottom section here and work my way up, really focusing on, again, I keep talking about this over and over again with my landscapes, right? These macro shapes made from the micro indexical mark of your brush. It's about finding that balance. So load up my brush. I'm not going to be a stickler about how much paint I'm using. I really want to just start laying this in. Now I'm trying to find a bit of a balance for the transparency of my paint, which is what happens naturally when I spread it out, but also the amount of brush work I'm allowing to be seen. This whole section down here is going to have a lot of paint on it. Lots and lots of paint. So I'm covering a wide area, and then I'm going back and trying to really kind of mix in where some of this paint would be thicker or thinner. You know, in between some of the underbrush that I had already painted, those colors. Maybe take a step back. That's looking pretty good, introducing this color back in to my painting in the foreground. Right? It's already here for your eye to observe, but now it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more immediate. Really glop down some paint on the edge there. And I can even, if I want, I don't even necessarily need to use a brush. I could use a palette knife, which I think I'm going to do just for the sake of demoing for you. So let's clear off most of that paint. And I'm going to take my palette knife that I've been using to mix, and I'm going to go ahead and start to smear that. And what this is going to do is glide that paint over the surface and give me this really nice, scratchy, pixelated. Can you see that? I'm running in the right spot. I can't really. Right here, that nice pixelated, scratchy texture. That's what we want. So load up my palette knife with that paint, just like I was mixing it, and we're going to start to introduce that into some of these areas here. Now the paint is pretty bright and thick, but it's giving you this really nice texture and introducing this color back into here. So this whole area is going to have a bunch going. This color going back into it. Yeah. Palette knife is definitely the way to go when I'm trying to achieve this sandy texture on my painting. And so I'm going to go back over some of these parts actually that I had done with the brush because I don't really like that texture too much. Right. Come back in here. It's looking pretty good. I want, this whole section. This whole section needs more paint. More and more paint. There we go. Now it's getting there. Hopefully you can see some of that texture from where the camera's positioned, but if not, that's okay. Because we'll do a close-up very soon. Right. It's looking pretty good. Oh, that looks great. Let's take a look at that from a distance, shall we? That's looking nice. See how, I'll point it out here. See how this color is now connected to this background ridge of the dunes, right? Right here where I'm pointing at. This color. So this color, I'm going to introduce it a little bit more into this foreground area over here. But it's looking nice. And most importantly, what it does is tells my viewer that this isn't necessarily a lush field, right? That underneath, even though this color is on top, right? Underneath it is the dominating materials, the dominating minerals and sand and dirt and sediment around the ocean. So it looks like I have a patch up in here. Start to introduce that a little bit too. And then obviously I think what I'm gonna end up having to do is go back over this sand a little bit too afterwards with that long grass to make it feel a little bit more embedded into my scene here. Again, just that little bit of this lighter sand color really helps make this foreground feel much more lush, much more of the environment that I'm looking for, that I'm looking to create. It's quite exciting when the things you've been practicing for a while actually pay off and they work well in a painting. It's very, very well. Let's sneak some of this color up in here. Really light. That's looking good. That's looking good. I think I still need some right down here. And I have plenty of paint because that marble dust and that wax actually makes my paint thicker, but it gives me more paint, more of that specific pigment to work with for that time being, which is really nice. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to take a step back again to look at it. It's looking pretty good. I think what I want to do is really lightly introduce some of it up into this section here. Maybe even start to bring it into this. I might have to do that with a brush, but because I don't want, remember, this is further, this section up here is further back than this section right up here by a good decent, I don't know. I mean, these dunes are pretty far. I'd say a good 100 feet. So I want this nice, rough, rich texture right in front of me, but not really anywhere else. And that's why the palette knife works really well in this area. this on pretty thick here in some areas. Hope everyone's happy, healthy, safe today. Doing well. This nice rainy day. It's a perfect day to make art. Thank you to the one person who has tuned in today for this live stream. You are very much appreciated. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. There is a chat. Please do not hesitate to ask. Start to sneak some of this color up into this little ridge. Remember how I created these lines with my moss? I'm going to kind of complement them right now with some more lines of texture right there on the hillside. That looks pretty good right now, I think. If I do any more, it might be a little much. So what we're going to do, this tall grass, we're going to take some of this color we just mixed, the sandy color, and I'm going to mix some red to it. Some of that Venetian red right here in the corner, if you can see that. Cut open that skin. All right. Oh, yeah. That's good. And now that's a really cold red. So what I'm going to do is take some of this yellow, I think, and warm it up, because the base of my tall grass is actually looks a little too pink. A little too pink, but that's warming up pretty nicely. Let's maybe get some of this orange here. Put some of that orange in this color. Hold that up to my photo. That actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to start to make some of these tufts of my longer grass, like at the base, with that orange color. Now, I need the right brush. I'm not quite sure which one to use. We're gonna use this guy. We're gonna use a flat brush, but it has these extra, you can see those extra long bristles that are less dense at the end. That'll give me those nice flares. Hello, person number 2. Hey, Aaliyah. Is that Aaliyah Baggett or Aaliyah Manon? I'm not sure. Hello. Thanks for tuning in, Aaliyah. Appreciate it. We're working on my painting here. So I'm going to take just a little bit of linseed oil into that orange color we just mixed. All right. And I've got some tufts of grass. I've got one right here in this foreground that's going to be nice. It doesn't have to be too dense, not too complicated, but I do want that color to be there. Start to introduce this reddish orange color into my painting. Again, mixing just a little bit of linseed oil into that color to thin it out a little bit, make it a little bit more workable. It is Aaliyah Baggett. Wonderful. I'm sorry you haven't been getting my emails. I've been having a lot of trouble with RunWeb. Just everybody has been. So if you have any questions about the sketchbook assignments or anything, please don't hesitate to email me. I'm on call all day. So we'll add some of this in here and then start to fill out some more tufts of grass. So this orange color here and there. I'm not being too picky about where these tufts of grass are. More about dispersing them amongst my foreground enough where it feels believable. Where it feels almost random. There's like a fine line between being composed in a painting and composing that randomness. So it's like a little patch right here. A lot of times if you try to follow as best you can from your photograph, it doesn't work out quite best. Hello, person number. Oh, I thought we had a third person there for a second. Nope, we don't. It doesn't work out quite as well sometimes if you try to be too exact. You have to take a step back and think about the context of the painting by itself without the photograph, without the reference you're working from. So adding this orange here and there. Maybe some tufts of this orange Need some more linseed oil. There we go. Thin it out a little bit. This area right in here. Wonderful. So as I said in the email this morning, hopefully everyone got my emails. I know we've all been having trouble with that as of late, but we should be. I'm getting a drawing desk very soon, courtesy of the school, which is very, very kind of them. But it's going to make me teaching drawing lessons much, much easier. So I'm going to be doing some tutorials for some figure drawing and maybe some perspective drawing. And in the future, hopefully starting next week. Desk is supposed to come on Friday, so we'll do a balance, maybe 2 live streams a week or live stream with painting and in the Zoom chat or a Google Hangout classroom. That way some of the students can really participate, follow along. Right on. All right, I think that's enough of that orange. So what I'm gonna, well, actually, I might need some. Yeah, I need some over here. I almost forgot because it's over top of my palette. Here we go. So where these bigger tufts of this orange grass are these longer shoots. These longer shoots of grass, and they actually extend up and go into this section. So I'm going to go ahead and do some of that as well. So I'm going to take some more of that sand color, mix it with this orange, and I'm really going to thin it out with some linseed oil. Really going to thin it out, maybe add some mineral spirits as well. There we go. That way we can get some of these long grass. And I'm going to use the same brush. I'm just going to use it instead of using the flat side like this, right? I'm going to use the edge. See how fine of a line I can actually get with that? It's going to be nice and wispy. Nice and wispy. For some of these long grass. Let's see how this works. I don't want them to be too... You know what? We might actually need some liquid in this to get it to look the way I want. That looks all right. I'm going to have to go back and add in some brown into that, I think, to really give it some contrast. But, yeah, let's get some nice wispy long grass. Nice wispy long grass. Still have one person with me. That's good. We're taking it slow today. I'm sorry if there are moments of silence, but honestly, it's a rainy day. Feeling quiet, feeling still, taking my time with my painting. I don't want to rush. I never want to rush when I'm oil painting. I never want to rush when I'm working on a landscape. Come in here, start to carve out some of this longer grass. I hope you can see it. You can see that a little bit. I'll back up and show you once I'm satisfied with some of this here. Again, I mixed a decent amount of mineral spirits, but that's because I don't want the long grass to take over my painting too much. You know, I want it to be a little bit transparent. I don't want it to kind of give more of a suggestion of the grass than anything, you know. And what I'm going to do is start to... Actually, you know what? What we're going to do. I know I said before that we didn't want that rough texture in this middle ground here, but I'm going to use just a little bit of paint on my palette knife, just a little bit. Look, barely on the surface, right? That nice Venetian red. I'm going to start to glide some of that over this area, and I might want to mix in some Van Dyke Brown as well. push it back a little bit, make it a little bit darker. But I've got some of this pretty intense red underbrush in this section that I want to go over with the long grass. So we can add some areas here. Yeah, that's looking good. Cut that ridge line nice and there we go. Maybe I'll bring it up a little bit towards the top here again. Continue that, how it slopes down, but also back up on this hillside. Right. Some light just to give it that texture, and you can see that brilliant red coming in here. We're going to push that back with my tall grass and maybe some of that sandy color again. Some of that orange in there. That's okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to that brush I was just using, right back to that sandy color, that orangey sandy color. I'm going to start to come in right here. Well, it might be a little too wet. It looks like it's a little too wet for me to work into right now. So I'm going to go ahead, let that dry. Maybe bring it just a little bit up into these dunes here. Get some line work going. Just a little bit of that red up here in this section of the dune. I don't want to overpower. I got this nice subtle purple color going on here. It's a little too wet at moments. Again, this is really, really brighter and warmer than I want because right now it's overpowering my foreground. But I'm gonna let that dry between now and our next session, next live stream, and then we'll be able to push that back for sure. I'm gonna start to build up some of these lighter ridge lines, just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. That's looking pretty good. There's not much else I can do right in this section just because it is so wet. Paint is so wet. I should have mixed some liquid into it, but that's okay to get it to dry a little faster. So I'm satisfied with my foreground right now. Let's back it up so you can see this taller grass I added in here a little bit better. You can see it. Yeah, you can see that much better from this angle, right? Taller grass here in these sections. Looking really good. So again, just kind of redid my studio. Gonna have a drawing desk right over there in the corner. Very soon, probably I'm supposed to get it on Friday. I'll have it set up by next week, so we can start doing some drawing tutorials. I've been not threatening. Sorry, I've been talking about. It's an expression. I've been talking about doing some tutorials about abstract painting and some of the stuff I've used in the past before. Again, today we talked a little bit about marble dust and plaster and coal wax, using those things in your painting, but we can talk about using Venetian plaster, mixing plaster and using wood finish, some spray paint, some other more industrial materials to do some some abstract painting, kind of like here. Actually, you can probably see it right here. Yep. So if I pull this down, you can see it. Well, here, if you look at it from the side, you can see the reflection. Yeah, see, look, it's super thick paint, that rough, cracking texture. This is Venetian plaster with wood finish and oil paint over top of it to create this kind of rocky surface of the water texture. So I can talk a little bit about that in the future, as well as doing some more drawing lessons. But again, thank you so much for tuning in today. That's all I have. Just a quick little rainy day session. Thanks so much. Really, paintings remind me of Bob Ross in a way. Thank you. That's a huge compliment, Aaliyah. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So yeah, thanks so much. We'll tune in next Tuesday at noon, and hopefully maybe Thursday or Friday of next week for a drawing lesson as well. So everybody stay safe, stay healthy, stay indoors today because it's rainy and kind of gross outside. Good excuse to make some art. Be creative. All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks.